Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are so excited to have our friend Jean Castelluzzo here and our special guest today as well, Linda Heron joining us here. We're going to be talking about different ways of meditation, mindfulness, and all the above. Let me start by having Laura, please introduce yourself to our listeners, and then we'll bring Linda on in as well.
Sure. I'm Jean Castelluzzo. Some friends call me Sky. I'm an acupuncturist, massage therapist, and life coach and spiritual teacher. I'm a dancer and musician, singer, songwriter. I do lots of things. I like to work with people and help them feel better.
Beautiful. And your website so people can reach out to you?
Yes, it's laurajeanc.com. That's LauraJeanC as in Castelluzzo or cat.com.
Beautiful. And who is our lovely guest today?
This is my friend, Linda Heron Wind.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
I am good.
Pleasure to have you here. Would you mind introducing yourself so we can get to know you a little bit better as well?
Sure. I'm Linda Heron Wind, and I go by the name Heron. And I am a psychologist. Also, I've taught at a college, psychology at a college for 25 years. And I write. I have books that I've written, as well as teaching in workshops and so forth on higher consciousness. My website is heronwind.com.
Beautiful. And where are you based out of, Linda?
I am near Rochester in Victor, New York.
Perfect. So fellow New Yorker as well. And I know today, Laura Jean, if you don't mind moderating, we're going to talk a little about meditation, mindfulness. Would you mind getting us started?
Sure. Meditation has been a practice of mine for about, 25 years or so. And I've just found it to be essential for my well-being. I would say what meditation means to me is the practice of being present, being in the now, not thinking about the future or the past, just really being present. And then also we're going to talk about mindfulness, which goes along with meditation. Mm-hmm. And that would be being aware of our thoughts from moment to moment and how we're feeling and that sort of thing. So yeah. Did you want to say anything about that before we get going more, Heron?
Sure. I've been meditating for a very long time. And what I found was that when I meditate in the morning, my day goes a whole lot better because it gives me an opportunity to sort of center myself and kind of connect myself with the universe, so that decisions that I make are more intuitive, heart-centered, rather than just from my mind. And mindfulness is something that I practice when I see clients, sitting with them and really just being fully present with them rather than letting my mind run around and try to figure things out. It's just really being present and allowing myself to.
Unfortunately, we lost Linda, or Heron, we call her, but we're talking about being present, mindfulness. She's coming on back. So give us 1 second here.
I think the area where she lives or her internet is maybe not as
I know we had
great.
Trouble. Was that last week bringing her on or the week before, right?
Yeah.
But worst case, we could talk without her, but we would love to have her input here. She's an expert, obviously, psychologist, and she knows what she's talking about. And by the way, how did you and Linda meet?
Yeah. Oh, so she's back. I wonder if it would work better if we just had your audio on, Heron, and not the video. I think we did. Can you hear? It looks like she's frozen. Do you want to try that? That might work better. Yeah. I can hear you.
Hi.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's better. I still see your picture there. I don't know if you want to try turning the video off, but
I did,
but
yeah.
yeah, I think that works better sometimes. Yeah, so um I met Heron at her place. She leads different community gatherings and like spiritual gatherings, women's circles, and equinox and solstice gatherings. And a friend of mine had brought me, I don't remember which friend it was. It was probably over 20 years ago, around that time. But one of my friends brought me to her place, and she has a yurt on her land, and there was, I think it was an equinox or solstice gathering, and which is a gathering in a circle in the yurt and doing songs and dances and talking stick circle, and it was really beautiful. So I've been enjoying Heron's gatherings for a long time now.
Wonderful. And if we don't get her back here on the line, it's okay. We'll still have our conversation. Do you want to take over then a little bit and talk a little bit more about maybe, acts of self-love or different ways to meditate in the meantime?
Sure, I think she's with us. Heron, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, go ahead, sweetheart. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so jump in at any point. I'll share that I've been having an evening practice of meditation pretty consistently for several years now. I find that it really helps me to fall asleep if I meditate before bed. And then when I'm really on my game and I have time or I get up early enough, then I also meditate in the morning, and it's a really wonderful way to start the day. I did just a little brief meditation before we got started. I was actually thinking at some point, maybe later, we could do just like a short, I brought my bell over here, like just a brief kind of meditation, just to be aware of our thoughts for a moment and kind of, well, we could actually do that now. I'll just do
Sure.
it now. Okay, so I'm going to just ring this bell, and we can just kind of, I would just, if you're listening at home or wherever, if you're driving, then don't close your eyes, but maybe close your eyes for a moment otherwise, and just feel your feet on the floor and have your spine up straight. I'm going to turn my phone over so it doesn't distract me. And I like to kind of feel myself connected to the earth through my root chakra and connected to the sky through my crown chakra. These
Okay.
are things that I don't think about too often, but it's like something that I automatically do. And one of the most common meditations that I do, that I learned a long time ago, was just focusing on our breath. So in counting our breaths. So
Okay.
in, out is 1, in, out 2, and up to 9, and then you start back at 1. So we could just do that one together if you want to try that, and then just for a few moments, and
Sure.
kind of just pay attention to if your mind wanders, and we can talk about it after. So I'll just ring the bell here,
Sure.
and we'll just center ourselves. Can you hear the bell? You can hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, how was that? It's a nice little breather. So that wasn't very long for me. I figured we better not have dead air for too long.
That's okay. That's in all moderation.
But yeah, it's nice. It's nice for me to just kind of have a moment of stillness and center myself. And yeah, how is that for you, Heron and Jill?
That's good. A lot of times what I do is I add to it is I breathe in, and then as I breathe out, I breathe a root down from my tailbone into the earth like a taproot on a tree. And then I breathe that good earth energy up into my heart. And then as I breathe out again, I breathe out the top of my head, branches and leaves way up to the sky and the stars. And then I breathe that energy back down into my heart. And then just continue as I breathe out. I'm releasing. As I breathe in, I'm breathing in the good earth energy and the good sky energy.
Yeah, I love that one. That's a great one. Thanks for sharing that with us. Do you
Inhale, exhale through the nose, out through the mouth. Meditation is something that's new to me. Maybe some of our listeners, just to clarify.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
clarify about the breathing, you mean?
Yep.
I think, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I just breathe through my nose. I think it's a personal preference. Do you do a different one, Linda or Heron?
What I understand about it is that, breathing in and out through your nose is centering, and that when you breathe out through your mouth, that it's a releasing. So if you're wanting to release energy, you breathe out through your mouth, and in through your nose, out through your mouth.
It's more centering, you're saying, to breathe in and out through the nose?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I find that as well. It's definitely nice. Some group of friends that I've been spending time with, they focus a lot on the exhale and talk about how when you exhale really deeply, it sends a message to your body that you're okay and that you can relax. So I've been being more aware of that lately.
Okay.
So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of meditation and how most of us, or many people, have what's called a monkey mind, which is like a busy mind. It's been called
Guilty.
monkey mind. Yeah. Have you heard of that before, Jill? Monkey
No, I
mind?
haven't, but it makes total sense. I know a monkey runs around scattered brain and goes crazy.
Yeah, right.
So yes, yes, I get it.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a funny term that's easy to remember, but I definitely can get there sometimes. I've noticed the longer that I meditate and the more consistently I meditate, the more my mind quiets down. So the monkey mind is that chatter that's in our heads, and sometimes it's one voice, sometimes it's lots of voices,
Yeah.
and we just have, we're hearing different people sometimes we're hearing our significant other, or we're having conversations with people in our minds that aren't really happening, things like that, or just worrying about stuff or thinking about the past, or just scatterbrained, having like thoughts about our to-do lists and all kinds of things going on in the mind. So meditation really helps to quiet that down. And I think one of the greatest benefits I've found to quieting the mind is being able to hear that little voice inside that's guiding us, that quiet voice, the one that's my something that I think about is that we're all connected to spirit or God or creator, the universe, our inner wisdom, whatever you want to call it. And the more we quiet our minds down, the more we can hear that guidance from our inner self or creator, God, however you think about it. I think it's all the same, really. We're all connected. Yeah.
Linda.
Yeah, I think of it as, the quiet voice comes from your heart, and the kind of noisy voice comes from your mind, and I like to think of the mind as being like a puppy. You have to train it do what you'd like it to do rather than letting it run off and get into all kinds of trouble. And our mind will do that. They get into everything that we don't want them to. And you can't just say to the mind, stop it, or to a puppy. Instead, you have to say, come here and do this. So
Yeah.
you call it back to a focus, an inner focus, when it's wanting to run all over the place into the past and the future and conversations and every place else. So you call it back in and just keep that focus, keep calling it back. As often as it goes somewhere else, you keep calling it back, to support your heart.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. That's great. I'm going to remember that one. The mind is like a puppy. I got to spend some time with a couple different puppies recently. They're so cute, but they need lots of attention. So yeah, that's a good one. Absolutely. Bringing the mind back. I use the breath to do that often. The breath is such a great tool for coming back to the moment, bringing ourselves centered and grounded. Whenever we catch ourselves having that monkey mind or feeling anxiety or stress or worry or whatever it is, or anger, if we can take a deep breath and come back to our hearts and center ourselves and ground ourselves, it really helps to, the breath is a really great tool for that. Just a nice deep breath.
No, I'm so much more mindful of it. And I apologize. I'm still sick with a cold, so I apologize for coughing. But
oh, you're fine. Yeah.
so
Hope you
how
feel
often
better
should we be
soon.
doing this? And what are the other benefits of it?
Well, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I try to meditate. I meditate pretty consistently every night before bed. And what I tell my clients, people that are new to meditation, is to start with 5 minutes a day, because that's not too hard to commit to. Because if we try to go all out and do a half an hour, or 20 minutes even, or 15 minutes can feel like too long. It can be overwhelming. And then, we might start off with doing really well for a couple of days or a week and then fall off because it's too much to commit to. So if you can do just 5 minutes a day, and if that's too much, then start with 2 minutes or 1 minute. Just ground yourself for that minute. You'd be surprised how even just that little bit of time is beneficial for getting that groundedness and feeling centered and having some peace in our minds. So that's my recommendation. Just start small. And then once you get that momentum going, I've heard that it takes 3 weeks to make or break a habit. So if you can do 5 minutes for 3 weeks, then up it to 10. That's my recommendation. Heron, do you
All
have
right.
any thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a good idea. Is when I first started, I started with 15 minutes a day and I set a timer, and I think by setting the timer, it kept me from keep checking my watch. So I could just sort of sit there and just wait for the timer to go off. And that felt doable, but I totally agree that whatever you set has to feel doable to you or you won't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to not forget to mention is that meditation is an act of self-love. It's really about being with ourselves. So that's why it's so hard for a lot of people to do, because you're not being distracted by the television or radio or whatever podcasts like this one or whatever. Like, those things are all great and they have their place. But if we can just be in the quiet and just be with ourselves, then it's really a powerful act of self-love, just doing that presence with ourselves. And if it's too hard to do a silent meditation, then start with a guided meditation. I know a lot of people do that. There's tons of guided meditations on YouTube. You can look them up. Lots of things like that.
Good. And also, so quieting the mind, as you say, right? Getting rid of that monkey mind in a sense, and being more mindfulness and more mindful, I should say. So that's being aware of your thoughts from moment to moment. And there's a lot that goes into that, starting with the self-awareness aspect of it, right? And then
Yeah, we should move into the mindfulness before we run out of time. We could talk about meditation for hours, probably. But yeah, self-awareness I found is a big part of mindfulness, and a big part of this path to enlightenment. If that's something that people are seeking, being aware of ourselves is so huge. If we don't know where we are now, then how are we going to get to where we want to go? We have to really be aware of where we're at. So practicing meditation and doing our best to be aware of those thoughts from moment to moment is how we help to get there, to that path of self-awareness and waking up.
Mhm.
I know one of when I was going to get into rhythms and patterns that we have, one I was going to just share one of my patterns is procrastination. So I've just been for the last almost 5 years, I think September would have been 5 years, I've been working at 2 different offices. So one of the
Oh, wow.
offices was, I was an employee at a doctor's office, a pain management office called Buffalo Pain and Healing in Buffalo. And I was doing acupuncture there. And about a month ago, I talked to the doctor and I told him I can't do this anymore. I need to leave. I'm getting ready to leave soon. And I gave him about a month's notice, and it ended up working out really well because he decided not to hire another acupuncturist. So he's referring business to me, and taking that step and taking that risk to talk to him was a big deal for me because I was a little nervous about missing out on that income. I also have a private practice, and I've been there for over 6 years at this one location, 6 years, and then working other places before that. But it was a big deal for me to let go of that job, and getting to that place was trusting that little voice inside me that was saying, just do it, just talk to him. You don't want to be here anymore. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's working out really well. It's a bit stressful at the moment because I'm getting to this place of opening up my private practice to be able to take workers' comp and no fault, which is a whole new ball game. But basically, I had to finish all my charts for that job that I just finished. Friday was my last day, by this morning. And so I wrapped it up by like 9:15 and had to get ready for the podcast. But that's something that I'm aware of in myself, this pattern of procrastination. I could have worked on it more over the weekend, but I focused on other things. I got a ton of laundry done and gardening and all this and that. But that's something that I'm working on. So, I'm aware of it. I'm doing my best to get better at it. I'm getting better at being on time. I showed up here today. These things like being early or being on time. It's good to be aware of our rhythms and patterns so that we can improve if we want to. Anyway, what do you think about all that, Heron?
Yes, well, mindfulness is, there are many ways to do mindfulness, but it's basically being aware not only of what's going on the outside of you, but what's going on the inside of you. And that means being aware of what emotions are coming up for you, and holding some level of awareness and curiosity about what's coming up on the inside, whether it's thoughts that arrive or whether it's emotions that get triggered or whatever. And by being aware of them, you're not just reacting to what happens, but you have a chance to really have a choice about how to respond to what's happening. And my understanding that the biggest thing that we have to learn being here in human bodies is to master choice. And that relates to what you're talking about too, is choosing when you do something, you know, choosing, do you do it early? Do you do it late? You know, what are your patterns about? So it's really making that inner choice of how you want to be in the world rather than just responding to what's outside. You could think of it as, rather than living from the outside in, where the outside creates your inner environment, you're living from the inside out. So your inner place of being creates what happens in your outer world.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned this trick a long time ago from a friend of mine about feeling into our feelings, and if something feels expansive, then that's a good direction to go in. If we're trying to make a choice about something, like, should I do this? Should I not do
Yeah.
this? Try imagining that thing that we're thinking about doing. And if it feels expansive, if we can feel ourselves opening up to it and kind of moving it, expanding into that, and it feels open, then that's maybe a good direction to go in. And if it feels contractive, if you can feel your body tightening up and contracting and have maybe fear coming up, or just whatever, doubt, anything that doesn't feel good, then that's maybe not the best direction to go in. Or just even simplifying that more. And if something feels good, then that's maybe in our highest good. And if something feels bad, then that's maybe not something we want to focus on so much, because it's those feelings that really give the thoughts more power and manifesting power. So it, like, the things that we want to create more of in our life, we create through our thoughts and feelings, and it's the feelings behind the thoughts that really give that manifesting power to the thoughts. So we really want to focus on the things that feel good, and energy that feels good, and do what feels good, basically.
Yep.
And not just, that instant pleasure. I'm not just talking about, instant gratification, but if it really feels like peaceful and calm and expansive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing I would add to that is that I think of that as sort of like an in-breath. If something feels like expansive, like an in-breath, that's inspiration, that's bringing spirit into whatever you're doing. And if it feels like an out-breath, collapsing, then that's expiration. It's not involving spirit. And that the feeling level of that is a more neutral feeling. I think that if you get into feelings like fear, sadness, and that sort of thing, that isn't really, that really means something else, because there are many things that I feel expanded about that I might also be fearful about. If it's I haven't done before. But so there are two different systems in our body. So the fear often comes from a little story in your head, about whether you're capable or whether you know how to do something or not, and so forth. Whereas that expansive feeling is beyond that. That's something that's located on more of a heart level.
And unfortunately, ladies, we are out of time. We need to wrap up. I'm sorry, but we can
No, it's
continue
okay.
next week. Laura Jean Castelluzzo, Heron, Linda Heron Wind, could you, of course, tell us how we can reach out to you both for more information?
Sure. Yeah. And thank you so much, Heron, for joining me today. It was a pleasure having you on.
Yep.
So I'm Laura Jean Castelluzzo, and my website is laurajeanc.com. That's LauraJeanc as in cat.com. 716-465-7408 is my number. Feel free to reach out.
Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're on Instagram. What?
Oh, yeah. I'm on Instagram at laurajeancwellness.com. And you can also find me on Facebook.
Great. Thank you, ladies, both so much for being here. We appreciate it. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.